Soul Scripts presents Conversations with Your Higher Self. Hi, I'm Alleson Gregary, and today we have Sarah Goodman. Sarah is a light language artist and energy healer. She has been on her spiritual journey since experiencing intense spiritual activity during childhood. Overcoming and healing many life challenges, Sarah now supports others on their ascension journey. Hello, Sarah. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Hi, Alison. I'm pleased to be here. It's really exciting.
It is fun to have you. And I have to share real quick. She didn't know I was going to do this, but this is what I purchased from Sarah. And when I got this, I was like almost in tears. It was so powerful. It's her light language art. And it is incredible. So we're going to talk about that today and a bunch of other fun things. Like, I'm really curious to find out about all the spiritual activity when you were a child. What was that like for you?
Oh, so I was like, quite a strange child, I think, one of those ones. So the first thing was when I was like 2, I wouldn't even go outside the house when the full moon was out. I was absolutely petrified of full moon, and I would not like look at it, go out or whatever. And this was before I could even talk or walk or whatever, it was really young.
Wow.
Then I had like really, so there was 2 main events that used to happen in my childhood. One of them would be, they'd always happen at night, well, normally when I'm in my bed. And one of them, I'd have the door open because I would be scared of the dark. So I could see the hallway, I could see the gap in the door and all that. And I'd get this really distinctive feeling or smell, or like I really still can't even describe what happens because there's nothing to compare it to. It's like trying to say, what does lemon taste like if you've not had it? It's really hard to describe. It's like a full body sensory thing would happen, and then I'd know that that's a trigger, that's a sign that the next thing is going to happen. So I'd get this weird feeling, and I can remember now, it's not pleasant, it wasn't nice, it was a horrible kind of sensation. And then it's like I was being stretched out of my body and something else was coming in, and I wouldn't be able to move. I'd be really scared. Sometimes they'd take over my eyes, so I'd see kind of pixelated but not really pixelated, and everything would distort. So the distance between me and the bedroom door would change, and the walls would change, and all the sort of dimensions of my bedroom would change. And I'd be absolutely petrified because I didn't know what was going on. So that's kind of one event that used to happen.
And how old were you?
This was all through my childhood, from...
Oh my gosh, how terrifying. Have you ever figured out what it was?
Well, so it's happened a few times in my adult life, but not loads. I think it is something taken over my energy. I think it's another being trying to get into my body, or trying to push me out or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely outside from, it's not me, it's something coming in. So I'd have that. And then I'd have another thing, which is this thing is kind of similar, and they do kind of blend into one. But the other one would be where I'm really pinned down and I'm like paralyzed, but I could sense all these things around me, but I couldn't see them, but I could sense they were there. And again, they would take over my energy, and it would be like really uncomfortable in my body, and I wouldn't be able to, I don't know if it's just like sleep paralysis, but I don't know if it's that or not, but it doesn't feel like that because there's other things, there seem to be other beings involved. But obviously as a child, I didn't know these are other beings. I didn't know anything. So I'd say to my parents, I had this scary thing that happened during the night, and they'd be like, oh, it's a bad dream. And I was like, but I was awake, and then, because, I'd be looking at the wall and it was moving and stuff, and they just would dismiss it, or, I mean, I don't think they knew either, obviously, what to make of it. So that went on through my whole childhood, and I'd be scared of like everything. I'd be scared of movies, of someone outside in a forest. I'd be like, oh my God, there's a monster. And I just had loads of fears of like dark things happening and stuff, you know.
You poor thing.
Yeah, it wasn't, you know, and then not to really get acknowledged for having those experiences either, you know, that doesn't do you much good. So I think they did really traumatize me, and I think that's why I kind of went on a quite bad path after that, because I don't think I was in my body. I think other beings or things were taking over my body, or, you know, manipulating me, or I don't know what they were doing. But so yeah, lots of stuff going on which really traumatized me, and then led me to not care about my body, or just not, I didn't feel like me. Like when I used to look in the mirror as a child, I'd be like, this isn't my face, this isn't my name, I'm in the wrong body, it's the wrong face, it's the wrong name, this isn't me. And again, like that's quite a weird thing to have as a child, because no one else, you know, my parents and sisters, they weren't experiencing that, and they'd be like, well, of course it's you, Sarah, you know, like who else could it be? Like, and I'd be like, no, it's wrong, it's not, that's not my name, that's not me. And so I don't know, I think my parents were like, well, we don't know what's going on here.
First thing that occurs to me is like, did you somehow get into the wrong body, and somebody else that belongs in the body you're now has been trying to get in all these years?
Maybe.
I mean, wow, that's wild. Now, have your own children gone through anything similar?
Not as bad, but definitely yes. My oldest one, he used to be, he had loads of night terrors when he was really young. Then he had he's got loads of like physical stuff. He had like a rare genetic disease, and he was tube fed as a baby for 6 months. So he says lots of kind of physical stuff. But that led him to have loads of kind of fears and phobias, and he used to be able to see lights, and kind of, he used to call them angel lights. And but now he's like a teenager and he denies it all. And but he was definitely really sensitive and had stuff going on. But I, you know, I think I helped him quite a lot, because I gave him lots of homeopathic stuff, and I kind of knew it was a sort of psychic thing going on, and him not really settling into his body, and trauma and all that kind of stuff. So
wow. So are there other folks in your lineage that have these same type of gifts and experiences?
no, not that I know of.
Okay, so you kind of started it all off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, one thing that like shines like really bright of like an explanation, I guess, now, is that when I was like the first time I was allowed out to town by myself, I saw someone die, and again my parents were like, no you didn't, and I was like, yeah, I did. And the next time I went out, I went to the library and I stole a book, which is the first time I've ever stolen a book. I was a really good girl, you know, I was a shy, quiet, good girl. So stealing a book is something that didn't happen. But it was a book on reincarnation. And I just needed, like, I knew I needed that information. I didn't even know what it was, I don't think, but it was just like, I so badly need this. And so I read that book, and it made so much sense to me. And that kind of like set me on a path, I guess, to discover what really was going on. And because I knew, like, when I saw that person die, I knew everyone else was panicking. And I mean, obviously I was just a child, so, you know, I wasn't going to get involved trying to resuscitate or anything, but I was like, why is everyone panicking? It seemed really weird, because I could see the soul had left. I could see he was dead. Wow. And I was like, oh, but it's fine. He's died. There's nothing wrong with that. It's, you know, he's fine. I can see. But obviously everyone else couldn't, and they didn't know. I don't know. So there's lots of experiences that kind of I felt quite alone in, and other people didn't have the same experiences. So it's kind of isolating, and I always just thought I was wrong, because I was told so through these experiences in childhood, I was just told that I was wrong, and what I was perceiving and thinking or feeling was just not correct. But I know now that it was, but it was difficult.
Wow. It's interesting, because we do have some sort of conditioning in place to believe that death is a bad thing.
Mm.
But we are, eternal beings. Our soul will go on forever. And, what's the big deal? The body, okay, gave out. The soul's going to still enjoy whatever the soul's going to enjoy.
I know. I mean, I do work now as well as an end of life doula.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of helped, I think, having that journey, and that has helped with that, because it's just such a sacred thing to be able to, sit with someone as they're dying and to just take away some of their fear and that kind of stuff. So
what's that experience like?
I mean, for me, it's pretty amazing. And my partner keeps saying to me, because I come home, I'm like, oh my God, it was like amazing. It was like, you cannot be telling people that someone's just died and you think it's amazing. He said, that doesn't go down well. And I'm like, but I can feel the energy, and like it is like a portal opening, and you can feel like the love, and you can feel the support. And if you're not emotionally attached and you're looking at it kind of, and you can feel the energy now, it is an amazing experience. It's the same as birth, you can feel the the divinity and the energy and stuff, and it's exactly the same as when someone dies. But yeah, it's not widely acceptable to be able to say that you feel good about it happening. But that's what happens.
What are some of the really neat experiences that you've taken away from that scenario? Any stories you could share?
Well, there's like personal stories where people have like seen, like so many of them see their relatives. And I know everyone says this, but they do. And you can have this, like sometimes, quite often only with people a few weeks before they die. And then they're in fear, they're in panic, all that, and then it kind of shifts. Like when they're reaching death, there's a shift, and it's like they just let go, or acceptance, or something happens. But then like magic starts to happen, and they just, I don't know, and it is just like an opening of the portals, and people just have profound experiences of seeing, having conversations with their mum who's passed, and they'll be able to, just feel the love. And I don't know, it's just because people talk about death and it's all about fear and it's all about, that. But when you can really see that shift, and that people can, I mean, it doesn't always happen, but more often than not, like 90% of the time that I've seen, people do kind of get this acceptance and this kind of calmness before they die. It's just amazing.
Now, I've heard there's a physical thing that takes place too, and I've always been curious if anyone's ever seen this, where I think they said like the left eye, you actually see like a star spark or something.
Oh, really?
At that moment of death. But I'm thinking, but people's eyes are probably closed when they're dying anyway. So would you see that?
I mean, I know sometimes, like there was one time in particular where we didn't think the lady was going to die like, any minute. We knew she was near the end, but we thought it would be a few days. So I was just chatting to a nurse, and like right in the middle of, we're just talking about something, really trivial, soap operas or something. And it hit me like a bus. It was so strong, like an energy change, like just something happened, which was massive. And then she died within about like a couple of minutes. And it was just like something had come, like an energy had come to give her kind of like an oomph, a push, so she could finally go. Because it seems like people kind of think people fade away, and sometimes they do, but quite often there's like a big surge of energy. They need that kind of last surge of energy to help them to go, and you can really feel that when it sort of comes in. And like I say, I was in the middle of a conversation, I didn't expect it, but it was so strong that I knew something had happened. And then we went to look at the lady, and we could tell it was all changing. And so yeah, it's really like, from an energetic kind of perspective, it's really interesting.
Have you ever had an experience when you're doing your end of life assistance where maybe the energies that came in weren't so benevolent?
I haven't.
Okay. That's good. I was just curious if, I don't know where I was going with that.
as like an end of life doula, even though I'm there and we're there so often, it's quite hard to actually sometimes be there at the moment. You know, I could sit for days, you know, 8 hours, days, but it's really hard actually to be there at the moment when someone dies. So that's slightly like a rare occurrence to even be there. So I haven't got loads of experience of the actual moment, but the ones I have done, they've all been good. Like really
What an
good.
honor.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's got to be, I mean, if you can look at it in the right frame of mind, it's as exciting as being there for a birth.
Yeah. I
to
know.
see the soul expand to that next level or that next place.
Yeah. No, it really is. It is an amazing thing. It's, you know, it's just such a rare kind of experience to be involved with. And I mean, you know, it's different if you're obviously emotionally attached, you know, and you can't feel those things because you're just swamped in the emotion. But when you can step back, like you say, and you can look at it kind of, you know, with a clear perspective, it's amazing. I mean, the reason I got into it was because I was doing Samaritans, you know, Samaritans, where you suicide hotline type thing. So I was talking to people who had taken their own lives and that. And then I was doing mediumship as well. And then I heard somewhere about this end of life doula, and it's like, well, I'm talking to people before they die. I'm talking to themselves after they die. And now I can be with them as they die. So it just seemed like a really logical thing to do, you know?
You've completed the circle, so to speak. That's neat.
And I have considered, I'd really like to be a birth doula as well. And like, you know, have a little bit of both, you know, because it seems like if you're doing death, I mean, in the old days, there was a lady that would just do the births and the deaths, you know, the midwife would do it all, you know, the wise women of the village would do all that stuff. So, but I don't want to train again, like at the moment, maybe I will, but it just seemed it would be amazing to have like the combination of, you know, the birth and the death and the kind of, yeah.
Beautiful. Now you're psychic as well. And you also communicate quite a bit with the galactics.
Yeah.
What's that like? Explain, like, what are some of the psychic experiences that you've had? And then I know you also share quite a bit on Instagram, some of the galactic experiences as well.
Yeah. So before I really got into it, I guess I saw quite, like, I've seen about 3 or 4 UFOs in my sort of 20s and 30s. And I didn't really think much of it at the time because, you know, it's just like a cool experience, isn't it? You're like, oh, that's cool. But then like I speak to other people like, no, I've never seen anything. And so I noticed I'd had like more interactions than other people. And I do think that some of the stuff that happened when I was a child is down to like galactic beings. Not all of it, but I think some of it is. I'm just trying to think when it kind of really started. I think it was kind of like, I did all the normal spiritual stuff, you know, I did like Reiki, I did like mediumship, and it kind of felt, it didn't really fit, you know, it was kind of like, oh, it's almost there, but it's not quite. And especially with the mediumship, it was like, oh, I can't do it, but like, I don't know, my energy just doesn't seem quite right. And so I don't know where I came across it, but when I learned that, you know, when I kind of connected all the dots, I guess, of all the different experiences I'd had, it made sense that it was, you know, off planet, that it wasn't, because as well, like me not, I never fitted in, like my face, and I don't know, just all the things put together kind of added to that. And then I guess maybe the main big thing was when I went to, I'd always had a calling to go to like Sedona, well, Arizona really, because I just really like the desert and that kind of area. And I mean, I've said this loads of times on Instagram, but when I flew in and I saw the rocks, like I was crying because there's something about the rocks that just felt so familiar. And I've traveled quite a lot, you know, around the world, and I've never had that experience where just seeing a landscape really like, you know, touched me really deeply. And then when I was there, I did have lots of like visions, or I guess they are visions, because things would happen in meditation and stuff, but it wouldn't be like a normal meditation thing. It would be like I'd go into a trance and as if something else was happening. And I had these visions of like, one of them was like that I was a scout for like this alien crew or something, and I'd gone to Earth to check it out, and I'd gone back to them to report what was happening, and that was quite a vivid one.
Wow.
And I've had other ones of going into like different landscapes and seeing the technology, seeing the cities, and you know, just other beings like that, and nothing really happens. Like it seems like I'm more an observer in their land rather than actually interacting with them too much. Like they're there and they're doing stuff, but it's not really, sometimes, but it's not really a two-way kind of conversation. It's more like I'm viewing it a lot of the time. So, but there's been lots of, I mean, I had like an experience just last week where I saw like lights in the sky, and then my friend took a photo and there's all this red mist around me. And then I saw like a spaceship between the clouds, but my eyes were closed, but I was still looking in the same position as when my eyes were open, which doesn't normally happen. And so, you know, like these experiences are kind of hard to describe because they're kind of, I don't know, people want to put it in a box. It's like, oh, it's a dream, or it's, you know, but they're not. And I mean, I guess, you know, over time you can tell because things like your phone will go funny, or like when I saw the lights in the sky the other week, I tried to record it, but the video button on my phone just like it's vanished. It's like, since when has the video button just vanished? You know what I mean? And then like in Sedona, when I was there, the battery was going up and down and dying, and then suddenly being alive again. And so, you know, when technology goes funny, you know, something's going on. So, yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. Now, do you think, or did this somehow, your beginning experiences with galactics foray into the light language that you're now creating?
Yeah, so I think I'd seen light language quite a long time, about 10 years or so, and I saw this lady who was doing it, but I literally had no, like, didn't even cross my mind that I could do it at all, like no idea. And then I went on a work, because I've had this public speaking thing for my whole life where I've really hated public speaking. So the idea of talking like in a different language that's like people would think you're crazy, you know what I mean? Doing English was bad enough, letting like something like that. So I didn't even consider that it was an option or something that I could do. And then my friend did a workshop and I went, and it was quite a traumatic experience because they were all sort of talking and speaking in light language, and I could feel it. I could like in my head, I could hear it, but I just had such a physical like block on my mouth and throat that I just like, but then like they were all like sending me energy, and I put my feet on the earth and I tried to do it, and then I managed to speak, and it was like a really profound experience because everyone was like, whoa, because I just like really changed, and I was like really calm, and this voice came through, and it wasn't me because I'd be like, you know, a nervous wreck, like, but this voice was like calm, and it was like really solid, and it was just strong, and I was like, whoa, that's not me. But then at the workshop as well, they said, oh, you know, you don't have to speak it, you can maybe do it a different way, you could try writing it or doing pictures and stuff. And then when they said that, I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. I can do pictures and stuff. So that's how I got into the pictures.
Wow, but they're so incredibly detailed. I mean, it's like when you're going through that process, what is actually happening for you?
So I'll get a picture of someone and I'll connect with them, and then I'll connect to like a galactic guide that I always connect with. I always use the same crystal, and I have a, you know, process I go through to kind of connect. And then I'll just see sort of shapes, and I'll just put the shapes on the paper. I mean, the main thing for me was getting out of my own way, and like, because I learned pretty quickly that when I've done a picture, people are going like, oh, what does that mean then? What does that mean? And I'm like, oh, what, you want me to translate it now as well? Oh my God. And I had a bit of a confidence block about that as well. And I was like, oh, so I had to just literally get out my way and just say what I thought. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to go for it. You know, And now I can do that so well that I can just disconnect from my mind. So I mean, occasionally if I'm doing someone's picture and it's like quite different, I'll be like, oh God, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to translate it, you know. But I just try not to think about it, focus on the shapes and the symbols that are coming through for that person. And I'll be like, okay, I'll deal with the translation later. Let's just do the picture. And if there's a problem later, I don't know, it will sort itself out. So I focus on the picture, don't let my mind get in the way, see the shapes and just do it.
I had a friend once, she also does light language, and something that really helped me kind of break through on some of the things that I share are, you may feel like you're making it up at first, but just go with it. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how it feels for you? Like, am I just making this up?
It did at the beginning, definitely. I mean, now it doesn't so much because I can feel the connection and I can feel stuff a lot more strongly. But at the beginning, I had such, I mean, I don't know, I had like 20 years of people saying, oh, you're really psychic, or you should do this, you do that. And I just had such a block. Like, it's like, no, because my mind, I couldn't, like, even with Reiki, like, and they're like, oh, you put your hands here, put your hands here. And I'm like, I don't want to put my hands here and here. But they've told me I've got to, so I must be doing it wrong because I'm not doing it how they want. But no one said to me, it's okay, Sarah, just do it your way. Like, if someone had said that to me, I could have saved myself 20 years of torment. But like, you know, I had to learn, I guess. But
do you find now that, I mean, personally for me, I feel like all these modalities are kind of like, I'll take a little bit of this and I'll take a little bit of that from Reiki, and I'll take a little bit of this from light language, and you really make your own thing, kind of. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, totally. And that's, exactly. I just wish I'd known that years ago, because all those things, like, they didn't quite fit, you know. They kind of did, but they didn't, and it's like, ugh. And I was trying to fit into something that I wasn't, obviously, because it's not quite my thing. And so that's why I like to teach and stuff now, because it's like, if people are like, oh, what if you can't do it? It's like, you can. It just might not be the same way as everyone else, but you can do it. You just got a different way of doing it, and that's okay. But that seemed to be a big thing. But
I think that's really great advice for people that are coming into this world, so to speak, right now, you know, and waking up and noticing all these gifts possibly emerging.
Yeah.
So on your light language, is there like a galactic person or somebody that it resonates from or comes from? Does it come like from the Pleiades or Andromeda, or is it all over the place?
So for me, it's mostly Arcturian. I feel that's who I resonate with most. That's who I always connect with. Whenever I look at stars, it always seems to be that star. They seem to be getting my attention, or they did to start with a lot. And it just seemed to connect more with that energy, I guess, than other energies. Because I mean, I don't really like this idea, even though I've got a quiz on my website which identifies people which kind of star seed they are. I don't really like putting people in boxes, because it's not like, oh, you come from the Pleiades, you know, because it's so much more complex than that. But it's a fun little quiz, I guess, you know, and people like to know a little bit. But I do feel most of my energy is kind of from Arcturus, because it's very mathematical, it's very kind of sacred geometry, all that kind of building blocks of the universe, that kind of structure. And that's kind of me.
Wow. So where do you see your work evolving, or do you see your work evolving?
I do. I mean, I'm not quite sure how, but I know it will. Because I mean, at the moment, I'm thinking of like other products to go with the pictures. So I've just done like a meditation so people can like go into their picture and see what the different areas of the picture feels like for them. And is there a bit which maybe is resistance, or, you know, so they can really get a full experience of their picture, what it feels like to them. And I'm also doing a like a vibrational, I don't know, toolkit or something that people can have with their picture. So I'll use a certain crystal while I'm making it and put the energy of their picture in the crystal, so they can then, you know, just keep that in their pocket and take it around with them, because the pictures kind of reset the person to their like original energy, what they came to earth with. So obviously you can't carry it around with you, so you know, you can have a crystal that you can take. And then I'm going to do like an oil, a personal blend of like aromatherapy oils to help activate the energy of the picture as well. So I'm thinking of like other things to enhance their experience, but I'm not quite sure what else.
Wow, Sarah, that is such a cool idea and offering. It's so unique. I've never heard of anything like that.
Someone asked me to do some codes for a singing bowl, so they've got put light language codes on their singing bowl. And someone as well, they just lost their baby, and I've offered to do the picture of the baby, because obviously the baby's gone, so now they can have this picture which holds the baby's energy.
Oh,
to be able to have as a keepsake, you know, to keep, which is, yeah, I think it's amazing.
oh,
But
what a great job you have.
I know.
Have you ever imagined this is where you would be? Like, were you ever in like a regular job where you had to go 9 to 5?
Not really. I mean, that's the thing, because you know, I'm in my 40s now, and I thought, oh, I was such a failure because I could never do a normal job, you know. And I was like, oh, why can't I do it? Everyone else can. And I just never found what I wanted to do, and or I'd find something like end of life work, but you can't get paid, you know, it's not a full-time job, and you don't get money really for it. And so I was just, for years, I was like, oh, why can't I just find something, you know? But I do feel that I have now, and I'm really happy about that.
Wow, that's awesome. So aside from, let's talk a little bit about some of your offerings. Now, the pictures and all the things that are evolving from the pictures are awesome. What other things do you offer for people?
So I've got a couple of courses, like light language courses, and it's kind of like just to help people to find their own expression of light in them and find the best way to express it for them. So it's not copy what I do type thing. It is like an exploration of their own kind of self and how they're going to do stuff. And I do like energy healing and stuff like that, but I prefer to do the pictures. That's my favorite thing. I mean, you know, just doing art.
Why?
Put some music on, get a cup of tea, potter about with some art and galactic stuff. It is pretty perfect.
I love it. And everybody's got to follow you on Instagram, because you are so fun to follow on Instagram. I love your stories.
Yes, I do love doing videos and stuff like that, creative stuff like that. Yeah,
they're so fun. So how would you feel? Absolutely zero pressure. You can say no. Would you maybe give us a little bit of light language?
I can do a little bit, yeah.
Okay. And maybe there's something, that a message or some sort that would come through for everybody?
Maybe. We'll see.
Awesome.
Okay, so close your eyes. Put your feet on the ground. First of all, just like call your energy back. So any energy that you've lost, leaked, or given away, call it back to you now. Any situations, people, bring back your energy. And as it comes back, it's cleared, cleansed, and detoxified. So call back your cleared, cleansed, and detoxified energy. And see it forming a bubble around you. I'm going to ask for protection. I'm going to do like a loop, kind of infinity symbol connecting me and anyone who sees this video. And I'm going to open up my connection. Ask for the highest energy, the highest message we can receive today for the people that are going to see this. See, so already, like when I say that, I can see like colored kind of waves of energy, I guess, coming down. And as they come nearer to me, they're forming, so they're waves as they're in the distance, and they're coming to me and they're forming like more points, like triangles, and they're coming down into me. And so I'm going to try, well, not try, I just see what sound these shapes want to make. Just absorb the sounds that you're going to hear. Breathe it into your body. The sound is just a vibration. It's going to go to the right area of your body, your aura, to help you with whatever you need today. See the light coming down, and it's just pushing out anything that shouldn't be there. You don't need to let anything go. It's just naturally, there's no room for it when you're filling it up with light instead. So the energy, like, or kind of message that I'm getting is just that we've got to stop looking, like we've just got to go inwards. We've just got to bring everything back, like smaller and nearer to ourselves. We don't need to look outside. We don't need to watch the TV, all that kind of stuff. We just need to, I know it's a really, you know, everyone says this, but it really just needs to be reinforced that we just need some stillness to be able to hear ourselves. We are not hearing ourselves enough. See, now it's kind of energy is changing a little bit, and I can feel it's kind of it's like pushing, what's it doing? It's like on the edge of your aura kind of thing, and it's just sweeping over you, and kind of using you as a deflection to go to where it needs to in your house, if that makes sense. So it is coming to you, but then it's kind of using you as a magnet to go to where it needs to. That doesn't make much sense, but that's what it's like just letting it flow over you, basically. Now I'm seeing like really thin strands of energy, and they're like vibrating like a guitar string, just really fine tuning the little like strands of energy. Just feels like pushing out the human bit and just remembering that you are this, like, you know, this divine connected being, not to get caught up on the earthly stuff, and to remember to go in, to go out to the universe and see the bigger picture in it all, not get caught up in the details. Okay, that's the end of the energy now, because when I start rubbing my hands and flicking like this, it kind of, so stop it. So just take a couple of deep breaths and see your energy again as that complete hole where you pulled it back, and there we go.
That was so gentle and so expansive. I could just feel it kind of pulsating out.
Nice.
So beautiful. Now, I love that you interpret the light language that you're saying. A lot of times I'll see people do light language and there's no interpretation. And you're going, what are they saying to me? What's going on?
I know. I do think it's, I mean, obviously other people might get different things from it than I get, but I think it is really helpful just to let people know what I'm getting, because like you say, they're like, you know, they've got no idea what's going on. So even if I just describe the color or, you know, something, it's just helping people to understand it a bit more, isn't it?
And what I find so interesting too is everything about your tonal quality of your voice changes. It's like somebody comes in to do the voice and then you go back to Sarah, and then somebody comes in and you go back to Sarah.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
I know. That's like what on that first time that's happened so strongly. It was really, quite something.
And I have to say, there have been orbs flying all over your room this whole talk. It's been wild. They've been on your right side and one just went behind your head. It's
Yeah,
so cool.
that happens.
So cool. Anything that you'd like to share with us, Sarah, about what you have going on towards the end of the month?
Well, I've got limited orders available if people want to get like a picture before Christmas or anything like that. There's only about 5 spaces left. So that's that. I'm bringing out another product, which is like a so the soul signature pictures are like, they take hours to do. They're really in depth and you get really detailed reading with it. But I'm doing like a more generic kind of picture, which has a generic background of light language code. And then in the middle, I'm just going to do a small little code for that person. So it's still individualized to them, but it's a lot cheaper and more accessible, like if you just wanted to try it out or something first. So that would be available soon, like next week or something.
I love that. I cannot recommend them enough. It's so powerful, and it's really important to put it in a place where you're going to connect with it every day.
Yeah.
Because it really does give you something.
The readings that go with the picture, like, I don't know how it happens, but they are like people, I can pick out people's children in them and like trauma and all sorts of stuff. It's just like amazing that, how I've managed to create like an oracle card, I guess, out of the picture and can translate it. It blows me away as much as everyone else because I don't understand it really. So
it is cool, and it's so wonderful because it's so unique. And if you really want that unique thing, I'm the person that's always hunting for the unique thing, so I love it. I just think it's great. I can't say enough.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, I am so honored that you were here today, Sarah. Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
And anybody wants to connect with Sarah, her information will be below. So, do follow her on Instagram. She's a lot of fun. All right. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.